Hello, let's get ready to take our communication skills to the next level. Can you hear me? Because I realize I changed mics. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Fine? Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure. So, welcome again to Online Presenters, a virtual advanced Toastmasters Club. Our mission is simple and powerful. We empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders, and we accelerate our communication and presentation skills. I'm your Sergeant at Arms, Dr. Sunny. Our theme tonight is props as partners, because a prop isn't just an object. It can clarify a message, strengthen a story, and when used well, it can truly animate your presentation. Guest, a warm welcome. We are delighted you're here. If you're interested in joining Online Presenters, please note you should be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 official Toastmaster speeches. If you bring substantial presentation experience, you may also apply after delivering a 2 to 3 minute speech at one of our meetings. All membership requests are subject to club approval by our members. And we have members joining us from many countries around the world. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be mindful of language and word usage that may be considered offensive or culturally insensitive. And strong communication, whether supported by slides, stories, or props, reflect the leadership and respect in our club. Finally, this meeting is being recorded. If you prefer not to be included, please check the chat for opt-out instructions. Finally, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking, unless, of course, your prop has something to say. Now, please help me welcome to the virtual stage our club president, Joni Laidlaw. Welcome, Joni.
Thank you for that, Sunny. I won't take a lot of time. I know that we are all here, ready, waiting to meet our presenter and her special guest. We have a very special meeting, which I'm going to ask that we stay for through to the entire meeting to the end for me, because I look forward to our guest comments at the end of our meeting. With that, let me introduce the immediate past president of Online Presenters, who will be taking us through our meeting today with our special presenters. Please make her feel welcome. Over to you, Marianne.
Why, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight we'll be stepping into a world where everyday objects become storytellers, teachers, and sometimes accidental comedians. Welcome to our meeting, Props as Partners. A prop is more than something you hold. It's a visual exclamation point, a bridge between your message and your audience, a silent partner, or in Susie's case, maybe not so silent, that helps your ideas come alive. Tonight, we celebrate the creativity, courage, and sometimes chaos that comes with using props in public speaking. So why props? Because props make ideas visible. They turn abstract concepts into something you can touch, see, and remember. A crumpled dollar bill can teach value. A broken pencil can teach teamwork. A suitcase full of bricks can teach letting go. And sometimes a prop can simply make you laugh, which is also a gift. Tonight you'll see how props can elevate a message, clarify a point, or surprise an audience. And who knows, you may leave here inspired to bring your own prop to your next speech. Now I have the great pleasure to introduce our presenters for this evening. Now, first we have Annie Martin. And Annie has been a Toastmaster for nearly 11 years, and she's been a DTM for about 1. Annie has spent most of her career as an educator and then a school principal in a school for students with special needs. She retired 7 years ago and currently works as a wedding and funeral celebrant, which she really enjoys. In her spare time, she keeps very busy with her 5 Toastmaster clubs. 5. She joined Online Presenters about 6 months ago and has really enjoyed the extra challenges and opportunities this has brought. Tonight's presentation will be from the Engaging Humor Path, Level 5, demonstrating expertise, and deliver your message with humor. Now, there will be a co-presenter with Annie tonight, and that would be Susie. Susie is 6 years old, too young to be a Toastmaster, but she has been allowed to visit a few clubs, and I have been lucky enough to see her at one of those clubs. She is still confused by Toastmasters, but nonetheless has taken part in 2 club competitions in the humorous category. On her first attempt, she came 3rd in her club. But the next year, she won the competition and proudly wears that medal to show it. Her speech was called Toastmasters is Confusing. She's right, right? She is not allowed to attend too many meetings, however, as Annie wants her to have a normal childhood and have time to focus on her reading and writing homework. Please welcome Annie and Susie as they present Props as Partners.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for that introduction, and you introduced Susie as well. She's not here at this second, but I don't think she will be far away. I can sort of hear her running down the stairs. She loves music, so I'm hoping that when she hears this music, she will even get here faster.
If you knew Susie like I know Susie, oh, 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 what a girl. Why, there's none so classy as this fat lassie. Oh, oh, holy Moses.
Susie! Hello! Look at you! And you! And you! And you! And you! Look at everybody! Hello! Annie? Yes, Susie. Where's Joni? Oh, hello, Joni! Annie? Yes, Susie. I would like to go to Jamaica. Well, me too. Yeah, can we go, please? One day, but you'd have to go in a suitcase to go, you know that. Yeah, I don't like the suitcase, no. What are you doing? Is this really Toastmasters? Yeah, it's Toastmasters. Where are their legs? What? The legs. The legs of the Toastmasters. The legs. They've all got legs. Where? They're sitting down. They've got that. You don't look like you've got legs either. Oh, I got legs. Look. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I have legs. And
Chazzy.
oh, the music started again. Yeah, watch that. All right, I'll be careful. Yeah, come on. All right, Susie. Look. You're so excited. They do have legs, but they're all in little squares, aren't they? Yeah, like Brady Bunch. The what? The Brady Bunch. There's a story, a lovely lady. The Brady Bunch. Yeah! They're in squares like that. And there's Alice in the middle. Look at Alice. Yeah, the housekeeper. The housekeeper. Right, I think she's gone off on some very random track. I don't know how we're going to bring her back to talk about Toastmasters. Oh, yeah, Toastmasters. Annie. Yes, Susie. Is there an R counter? I don't know. If there is, I'm going to win. Because I always say and because I'm only 6. Yes, you're only 6. Quite right, you are only 6. Annie, one more question. That famous last words. Yes, one last question. Is there a Nan from Manchester? A what? A Nan from Manchester. I heard there was a Nan from Manchester. Hello. Yeah. Does he have legs? Yes, he does. Oh, okay. Hello, Nan. Yeah. And I can see Andy. I can see David. I can see Jen. And I can see Andre, Dr. Sunny. I see Mary Ann and Janie, because I see her one day in Jamaica. Yeah, what? You have to wait for an invitation. Yeah, I'll wait. Susie, I think it might be time for you potentially to have a little rest. Yeah, is it? Well, I didn't sleep well last night. I was too excited. I know. So now, what about if you have a rest and then I can talk? Okay. All right, Susie. You just have a little nap and I'll call you back later when we need you. Okay. Bye. Whew. That was Susie. She has, as I hope you can see, a bit of her own personality. And why I want to start with talking about Susie having her own personality is because this can be a great tool in Toastmasters speeches, in the sense that even without props, if we're going to bring another character into our speech, and maybe they would have a different voice, they're a different person coming in, and we want to bring them to life, it would help us to think of them as very separate to us. Just like in Susie's case, she is totally her own person. This is actually the heart of ventriloquism, but this talk is not about ventriloquism. It is, and I'm a very, very, very early ventriloquist. I don't really call myself that, but I say I like to learn about it, and I'm intrigued by the art form. But in Toastmaster speeches, we do want the old man who might come onto the stage to be very different to us. And we need to get into that mindset of it's not necessarily just about us presenting our speech. In Susie's case, when I first got her, I was really clear that I would in my head define her characteristics, which don't change. So she's 6 years old and she'll always be 6. And I chose that because it's the 1 year before the age of reason sets in. So Susie's very literal. She's very innocent. She's very excited about the world, enthusiastic. She's a bit goofy and chaotic, but hey, 6-year-olds often are. So it's very much holding on to Susie's personality so that when she's on stage with me, I may answer a question one way, but she may answer it another. And I have often surprised myself by what's come out of my mouth or her mouth, whoever's mouth, and it's been like, where did that come from? It really wasn't what I was going to say. I want to talk about that because Susie as her personality has actually had some influence outside of Toastmasters. And I'm going to just tell a little bit of a story about my dad before I come back into Toastmasters. And my dad was very elderly. He died at the end of last year, age 96. I was really close to him, but I am not bereft that he's died, because we got on so well and he had a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful life. But I do want to talk about Susie in relation to my dad, because she came into his life in about the last 3 years. And for the record, Dad did not have dementia. So she came into his life, and his life was so enriched by her. She'd get in a suitcase, which is why she doesn't like them, and she would go and visit him and brighten his day. And why it worked was because she was a 6-year-old girl. She was curious about his life. She wanted to know what he was doing when he was 6. She had a childlike innocence about the world. And there was something maybe about Dad being very elderly, or just being maybe Susie reminded him of me as a little girl. I don't know what it was, but just intrigued. And the conversations that came out that he would talk about with Susie in the room was absolutely beautiful. And even just in the week before he died, he had Susie up on the bed. The nurses thought it was a bit crazy, but that really didn't matter. And so she has had an influence way beyond what I ever imagined. And that was part of giving her her own character and sticking to that character and seeing the charm of that. But coming back into Toastmasters, because that thing with my dad, that the Susie, the 6-year-old, connected with the young person, the young boy that my dad was, could happen on a Toastmasters stage, in the sense that there would be times where you will want to connect potentially with the childlike qualities of somebody in your audience. And a prop can, if you like, a prop like Susie, although I don't necessarily recommend you try ventriloquist style in a speech, but anyway, but a prop like Susie can cut through that intellect that we have of, thinking logically about things, and maybe cut through to a childlike view of the world. I would be really interested, and I haven't yet done it, but one day I will, of trying Susie in a table topic competition, or just any table topic, because she would offer something quite different potentially to me in an answer. She'd also buy you time. If you're trying to think about an answer, you could be, chatting to Susie while you're trying to go really quickly, and she may answer it differently to what I would. I think that is an untapped area and could be a lot of fun in a table topic. Just offering it there as a thought. Now, speaking about maybe that could be in a table topic competition, or maybe speaking about competitions in general, I do want to say that props can be used in competitions with 2 provisos, and I'm sure you know this as experienced Toastmasters. The first is that you clear it with the contest chair, and they say yes before the contest. And the second is that you can assure them that, and maybe prove to them, that you can set up and remove your prop within the 1 minute's silence. You are allowed to have assistance for this if you like, but you can't ask any official to help you. You can't ask the contest chair to help you. Other than that, assuming it is safe and respectful, then you should be good to go with bringing your prop on to stage. I will be mainly talking here about physical prompts as opposed to background screen prompts, or background screens, and things like that happening in an online forum. I will be talking about props you can use online, but not so much about background screens, other than to try and address Jim Barber's issue. And to know, and you talked about the didgeridoo and it came in and out of focus. I'm using a background screen. I can't explain it yet because I don't know the technology of what it is, but it's somehow connected to my camera. And this means that anything that I've got, we are still seeing in and out. And I do believe Andy Byrne looks like he has one that is similar. It is still a screen that's cutting out everything behind me, but it's allowing that depth, and that is what you will want. And if I find out what it is I'm using, I can help you out with that. Let us go back to talking about props in speeches, in particularly props in contests. And I'm going to ask the question, is it a good idea? And I'm going to answer it myself, and I'm going to say there's two answers to that. Yes and no. I'm going to start with the no, why it may not be. This is a disclaimer. Don't say Annie said use props, because they can go wrong. You can drop them. They might explode. The electronics might work. You don't know what might happen. But also, you never ever know what's going on in the mind of a judge. Do they see them as gimmicky, cheesy? Do they think, do they just sort of dismiss what you're saying? Really importantly, what's happening to your message? Is your prop being used as a crutch for your content? And if it is, and if it's detracting from your content or your message, not a good idea to use them. So it does require quite a lot of thought as to where they can really enhance a message or really come into their own and grab attention in a way that not using them wouldn't. And I've got some good examples of that leading on to world champions. Now, people have already spoken about Mike Carr, but I've got a couple of other world champions I want to speak about. And this is to answer the yes question as to why props can be a good idea. Hey, if world champions are using them, let's consider that they could be pretty amazing. So let me talk about 2015 Muhammad Khatani. And I imagine many of you have seen the speech. If you haven't, do go and watch it. It's remarkable. He is on the stage. He doesn't say a word. Out of one pocket comes a cigarette. Out of the other pocket comes a lighter. Puts the cigarette in his mouth. Lights the lighter. The audience starts laughing. They're intrigued. Like he's got the audience right there in everything. They're like, what's he doing? Why is he doing it? They're absolutely on board. And then he says one word. What? And they burst out laughing. So with one word, he's got the audience in, they're intrigued, they're asking questions, and they're laughing with one word. And it was because of his prop. Really clever, brilliant speech. And it ties in, it's not a random prop. He's saying, what, you think smoking's dangerous? No, it's our words that are dangerous. They're dangerous to other people. And then he will close again with that cigarette. So he tops and tails his speech. Absolutely brilliant. But let us not forget the year before. Let us not forget Dhananjaya Hariarachi in 2014. And if you've not seen that speech, I'm sure you have. If you're like me, you've seen it many times. But if you haven't, go and watch it. It's called I See Something. Now, he also doesn't walk on with a prop, just like Muhammad Khatani didn't walk on with one. He revealed it from his pocket. Dhananjaya has a flower in his breast pocket, and he takes it out and begins by saying that life can be so cruel and throw you in the trash can, and he plucks the flower and throws the petals in the trash can, breaks it, discards it, does the most brilliant speech about building us up again and becoming whole. And at the end of the speech, he pulls out a flower, which is clearly a prop set there, that has become whole again. Once again, the prop ties in brilliantly with his message. It tops and tails his speech, and it's a world champion speech. What can we say about one of the best ever? Props are memorable too. So it might be that you sometimes hear people talk about, I can't remember who gave that speech, but they opened it with a cigarette. Right? So it can stick in our mind visually in a way that our words may not as much. Props can really spark our imagination because they can give us a sense of anticipation as well. Like maybe you have a prop that's just a box, and a lot of your speech is about what's in the box. I can hear it rattle, and a reveal of what, let's open it, open and so on. So there's a lot that a prop can give you layer by layer to bring people in. Maybe it's something that's in different cloths and you're taking off to, what are we actually getting down to? Steve Jobs was the master of this. If you've ever watched any of his speeches, he did the great reveal, and he would reveal the little MacBook Air coming out of an envelope. So he loved that idea of sparking imagination and revealing. I've seen some brilliant brilliant props used. And also, I'd like to point out that the stage is a prop. And speaking of world champions using props, last year's winner used the stage as a prop. He began by kneeling down to kiss the stage, as his speech was about the stage. And don't forget, we use a physical stage all the time in props in terms of a timeline. If something's happening from early childhood to older, we'll use a left to right time frame. We will use depth of a frame as well to potentially indicate an emotional state of confidence or uncertainty. So a stage is a prop. We also can use props. I like this idea that a prop may be used in a table topic as simply as a normal item of clothing that you may not use. And this could work because it's not like you're stepping onto the stage intending to. But imagine you've got a table topic and I'm wearing this instead. And I could just wear that the whole table topic contest and not use it because my talk is going to be about something else. But what if something happens as I'm thinking and talking and I go, oh, suddenly it's, I'm in a running race or I'm, an old lady or whatever. And men may well have a hanky in their pocket that just sits there. They might not use it. A clean one. But they could pull it out and do something with it. So even a pebble in your pocket. In a table topic contest, think about it. You might never use it. Nobody needs to know it's there, so it doesn't come across as though it's forced. Some of the props that I've used, I will go back to my dad briefly and say once when I was finishing my Competent Communicator and I had to give a speech about my inspiration, I brought him along to that final speech and he sat sort of on the stage with me. He didn't really know what I was going to talk about, but it was really lovely. It wasn't a contest. And at the end, I just got great feedback and someone said, that's the most lifelike prop I've ever seen of Dad, which is really lovely. I've also used a prop in a speech I called the speech that saved his life, which was about Theodore Roosevelt. He got shot in 1912 in Milwaukee as he was delivering a speech, and he had his speech crumpled up in his breast pocket, and the bullet came and it hit his speech and only vaguely pierced his skin, so he could he was pretty sick, but he could continue. And it's a true story, and the speech that saved his life was because he wasn't using his notes. It was in his breast pocket. Now, if you ever want paper to look old, just get a couple of tea bags and jiggle them in water and put your paper in and take it out, fold it up, and last night I put some tomato sauce on it. There you go, tomato sauce. I loved online use of physical props because you can use things there's no way you'd use on a real stage. And I've given a speech about my lifelong dread and hate of the dentist, and the speech was all about dental floss. It's not a great prop for a big stage, but online during COVID, I showcase all kinds of, like Mike Carr style of what you can do. There was the razor blade of dental floss, and there was the toilet brush of dental floss. Once again, all because we can, on Zoom, come right in and really see tiny little detail. I've also given a speech that I'm currently working on, and it's about a very conservative principal who learns to drive a bus. And she sits on a chair. The one prop is the chair. I sit on the back of the chair to indicate that I'm up high on the bus. And then I crash the bus, and the chair falls on the ground and bus crash. But this principal has an inner world going on where she's obsessed with the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and some layers of clothes do come off, I will say, to reveal that she's actually got fishnets and so on underneath. And so this conservative principal with a bus crash then reveals she's got on her fishnets, and it's completely wacky, completely crazy. But again, this reveal, like Steve Jobs does, or a reveal of different clothes underneath, can be quite powerful. And once again, that incredible surprise value can come in there. Well, let me just keep going a little bit into a doll. Again, back to a doll like Susie and what could potentially happen in a serious speech. I've not entered her in a serious competition. I'm a bit scared. But there could be a lot of scope, and one day I hope I'm brave enough to do it, where maybe Susie is very shy and very worried and doesn't have much confidence. And I work with her to bring her out of that. And it's almost like she could be an inner person who is, not as confident as they need to be about their own abilities. Almost like I'm talking to myself. A different kind of prop, not Susie, but maybe somebody who's not quite as nice. I do have another doll who's not quite as nice, but anyway, I may not bring him on. But he might be critical of me in a speech, and so that might be my inner critic. So there is a sense where a different part of us could be presented onto a stage. It's quite a lot of scope. Again, pretty risky business. The judges might go, nah, gimmicky, don't like it. So as I say, all of this total disclaimer from my enter them at your own risk, and don't say that Annie said. I do have time, so I will go into, and this is for that Dr. Donna May as well, may be really interested and may know way more about this than me in terms of using props in her work and education, but definitely so powerful. I'm certainly aware where puppets have been used in counselling sessions with children, they have disclosed to the puppet sad things about their life that they would not disclose to an adult, even though the adult's been in the room manipulating the puppet. And the adult said to them, you do realise if you say anything, I will need to, let people know. And the safety with which they've regarded that puppet, the safety with which my partner's son with autism, who's 23, the safety with which he regards Susie is beyond my wildest expectations, and the things that he will say to Susie with me and my partner in the room. He said, no, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell Susie. And we try and keep a straight face. And we're like, oh, yes, tell Susie. And out will come stories that never imagined. So there's a real safety in the consistency of a puppet, the non-judgmentalness of it, the sense that it's not suddenly unpredictable like people are. Or a really remarkable story about this young man who, as I said, is 23, he doesn't live with us, is that he occasionally will pick up Susie by putting his hand and to mouth Susie. And we've been in the room watching, and Susie will say to him, you smell, you need a shower. And he'll go, oh, okay, Susie. And he'll put it down and go and have a shower. So he's talking to himself through the strength of this. I think it's time to bring that legend of that little Susie girl back on stage. So I'll see if she's awake from her nap. Let's see.
Wake up, please, Susie, wake up. We've both been sound asleep. Wake up, please, Susie, and weep. The movie's over, it's 4 o'clock, and we're in trouble deep. Wake up, please, Susie.
Susie. Hello. I can't stop the music. There's a song, I think, called that. I Can't Stop the Music. Susie, hello. Oh, I was asleep. Oh, you didn't, yeah? You do. Yeah, where's Janie? She's there. I just saw some love hearts for you. Oh, for me, yeah. Yes, for you. Annie, Yes, Susie. Sometimes when I'm asleep, you not say I am a lazy Susan. A lazy Susan? No, you're not. No, I'm not lazy. Annie. Yes, Susie. Uh, uh, I hope it wasn't a judge. No judging today. Good, yeah. Sometimes I watch Judge Judy. You watch too much television. There's the Brady Bunch, there's Judge Judy. I don't know. What else goes on? You should be doing your homework. Yeah, I should be doing your homework. Yes, Susie, you should. Is there anything else you want to say to all these lovely people? There's a lot, aren't there? Yeah, I can count. I can count them. Yes, you can, but let's not. We don't have time. We've got a red light. That's that man from Manchester. He's got a red light. Yeah. Okay. Well, I did go. It was really exciting. Look, I got a needle. Look. Yeah, I think you showed them last time. Yeah. Okay, I gotta go. Bye. Let's see if we can get the right music. Oh, what a gal.
If you knew Susie like I know Susie, oh, what a girl.
Rightio, that's enough from Susie
So classy.
and from me. As I say, there's the disclaimer. Use props at your peril, but maybe use them because they're super fun, they're memorable, they're exciting, great surprise value, and they're creative. And why not? I'll now hand back to our Toastmaster of the day, Marianne.
Well, let's give Annie and Susie another round of applause. What a great presentation.
Woo!
And I think we're going to take a few minutes and have a little Q&A. So Joni, who is the president of our club, she's going to be conducting the Q&A. So please put your hands together for Joni.
Thank you, Marianne. Well, I'm going to ask first, before we go into the Q&A, does Susie need a break? Does she need to go get a juice box? Or are you guys ready to go straight into the question and answer segment? We're good for Q&A.
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
All right. So we are going to have a little bit of a feedback. That's fine. We'll live with it, right? So I will start with the questions that I already have. The first one from Jim was to Susie, and it was, and I quote, Susie, do you ever get tired of Annie putting words in your mouth? And remember, there you go.
Yeah, I do, Jim. Yeah. Do you? Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I want to talk for myself. Sometimes I fall flat if Annie's not there. Yes, you seem to have two modes. One is full on when I'm there. Yeah, full on. And the other is if I go, you sort of do fall flat. Yeah, look, yeah. So yes, Jim. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. Now, the next question is actually going to be a question for Annie, and this one is from Andy. Will Susie's personality be fixed at 6 years old forever? Cover her ears so she doesn't hear the answer to this one.
Yes, I think she will be fixed at 6 years of age because the way she looks, she's not going to grow into a young woman unless, and that might be another doll that grows into a young woman, but Susie's charm is, and her appeal to both my dad and to my partner's son is that childlikeness. And I think so much of that can be missing in our world as adults, that sense of play. We need more of it. So yeah, she's staying at 6.
All right, excellent. Remember, everyone, you can raise your hands if you'd like to ask a question. I see Kritika's hand is raised. You can go ahead.
Hey, Susie and Annie, it's wonderful. It was sweet. I wanted to give you a lollipop for that. So, here is my question. I started watching this Miss Rachel show, and I'm a big fan of Bluey because of my daughter. How would you advise me to get more of a virtual object like this in front more than Susie? What makes it a great difference? A digital version of any object that you see on the screen like this. Like this. How would you make a real object that is there, like Susie, like Abby? How do they make an impact during a presentation?
Gosh, you've I think got me stumped, and I think you've got me stumped with that question. I'm going to have to potentially defer that to someone else. Kritika,
I might be able to help with that one.
Yeah.
Virtual props work in the online space, and it works very well when you're in the online space. However, creating the dependency in the online space, for example, for backgrounds, etc. Annie actually before demonstrated what it was like to use a real scarf. Now, in the virtual space, you get the opportunity to do a lot of changes and edits because there'll be a long list of things there. But what will happen is you won't have that option in real life. So if you're going to practice for being on an actual stage with real props, the suggestion would be not to focus so much on the online props because they're so vast and so many things that you can use, and actually focus on an actual real prop so it would mimic what it's like on stage. All right, so I do have a question
Annie,
from...
Yeah, Annie, you are wonderful, and I use these photographs and Yoni ukulele and a photograph in a presentation. That was going great. Annie, your presentation was good.
Thank you so much.
May I make an observation, which is sort of vaguely related to something that Kritika just said then, Annie, and I'd like your thoughts on this. She spoke about Bluey, which of course is an animated TV show, but which is based so incredibly realistically on Brisbane, the city where it is set. It's my home city, and I recognise some of the scenes. I walk down those streets. Susie works best because she is an analogue for a child, for somebody who is so childlike. What happens if your props don't represent real life? If people can't see what it is that you want them to see, is there a risk there that it just becomes something that gets in the way? You spoke before about sometimes props don't work.
There's absolutely risk in props, which is why I began with do they work, and yes and no, and began with the no's, and very much so. And you never know what's going on in others' minds necessarily. Everybody comes in with their own beliefs and issues and so on. You never know, and that's why I think it's probably fun thing to try at a club level and get that response, see what your audience is interested in. So, you know, if you're looking at contests, that's where that risk comes in. But it can be something that's like anything, like giving a speech, you might want to test it out to different audiences. And the same, what I never realized about Susie was that other people would like her. I thought I would have some fun. And when I finally showed her to other people, there was something about her that captured the imagination. I had no clue that that would happen at all. So complete surprise to me, let alone that there might be some therapeutic benefit. That just blew me away. But so yeah, look, absolutely, you don't know. It could totally detract from your message. And as Toastmasters, it's all about our message, and it's all about our audience and how to marry those two. Yeah.
All right. So as I was saying, there is a question from the man from Manchester. And I do believe this is for Susie. Andrew, would you like to pose the question yourself?
Yes, sure. Well, it's the question for Annie, actually. Annie, I just want to know, so how do you decide that Susie has served her purpose for the presentation and it's time for her to go? How would you balance that up in terms of making an impact? When is enough of Susie and it's just you? Or how do you balance it?
That's a really good question. Yes, in some level, it is dictated by the fact that it's actually a lot of work to be Susie. So today, when I knew I was going to be speaking for half an hour, it would just be, I would run out of steam and ideas and so on. So you've got to be a bit limited to keeping it novel and keeping it fresh and hopefully interesting. When I used her a couple of weeks ago, I brought her on in the middle of the speech and took her back, and I began and ended the speech. Today I did something different, beginning and end, and I took the bulk of the speech in the middle. So it is about balance. When she has gone in those two competitions that she likes to boast about, and this was just a little local club competition, but she was on the stage the whole time. And some of the people thought it was pretty weird, but on that occasion, for humorous, which is probably where she's best suited, she did stay on for the whole time. It was really tiring. It's like you've just done 10 speeches at once, all running in parallel in your head. So, but good for you. Good practice. Yeah. Thanks for the question, man from Manchester.
No, thank you. Also, Annie.
All right, so we have a question from Jim Barber. Jim, would you like to pose the question yourself? I'll have you added. You can go ahead. This one is for Annie.
Hi, Annie. You are a skilled ventriloquist, and I am in awe of what you did this evening. How long did it take you, and this is not really a fair question, but I have to ask, how long did it take you to learn to be so good? And do you have any secrets for any of us that might want to follow in your footsteps?
Thank you. That's very kind. I'm very homegrown, and I watched some YouTube videos. So I really, and I just practice a little bit when people want to see her. She does live on the couch with my partner and me. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, disclaimer, we don't have any grandchildren, and we don't have a dog or a cat or anything. So we've got to have Susie watches telly with us. Sometimes she chats. So look, the tips would be just that I enjoyed it. YouTube is great. I really enjoyed watching a guy called Jeff Dunham. I don't know if anybody has followed him. You Americans do ventriloquism so well. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a dying art, but if you haven't watched him, he's brilliant. He'll have many characters up on stage. You would also know, you Americans, America's Got Talent, a 12-year-old young girl won it not that many years ago, and well, not quite a few years ago now probably. Absolutely brilliant, and she was able to sing really well. Singing is no harder than talking into a ventriloquist style, so there you go. Only yesterday Susie was doing another practice for this, and she started talking about her daddy snoring, and she started snoring. That's no harder. You would think it would be, but look, there is such a thing called the ventriloquist alphabet. Another word, it's a fancy way of saying most letters are fine, some letters are impossible. And the two letters that are the most impossible are B, try it, it's B, how do we say that without impossible? And M is pretty impossible. Most of the others, you don't have to move your mouth that much to say it. So I don't really feel I possess any great technique, but I just enjoy it, and it's good. It's great fun, fantastic fun. Thank you.
All right. So there is another question for you, Annie. How do you work with multiple props, and is it advised? And you can do both online. In the case of today, you did the music and you also use Susie, but in person, would multiple props be advised?
Multiple props would probably multiply the risk, A, of things going wrong, and B, that it may be seen as even more detracting. But it wouldn't be impossible. I use multiple props in my speech about, dental floss, and that worked really well because it was the same type of theme and me giving examples. Again, the speech that I am working on, this one where I'm driving the bus with the chair as the prop and the clothes as the prop, I think that works okay because they're two very different kinds of props and they're not in your face. Well, later on the clothes I'm wearing are, but there's a reveal of that. I'm a very big believer that props, power can come in the reveal. And as I said in both of those world champion speeches I spoke about, their props were revealed from a pocket or the pocket in his pants or the pocket in his breast coat. And I think that came across really naturally. It's not like someone's walking on with a big thing. I'm not a huge fan, I don't know if this answers the question, but not a huge fan of using a photograph of somebody as a prop. I have done this in a speech and it didn't go well because if you're revealing a photograph of someone, you are then taking away the imagination of what they might have built in their head. Let's say you've spoken about this elderly woman and you painted all your word pictures and then you revealed her photograph. There might be a real sense of discord of that's not how I imagined her, because remember, it's our words that we want to use to help paint pictures in people's imagination as our primary purpose of being Toastmasters and using words.
All right, so I see David hand raised. So I believe that's the universal sign of I have a question. David, you can go right ahead.
Yeah, actually, it's more of an observation than a question. But sometimes you have something in a speech that you want to read because you want to get the words exact. And what technique I have used is making a production out of producing this piece of paper. So I did it recently where I wanted to read something from the Declaration of Independence and from the preamble of the U.S. Constitution. I wanted to get the words exact. So I had this little piece of paper that was on kind of a parchment that I produced and kind of unrolled and read. So if you need to do that for whatever reason, you can make that a little bit of a prop in your speech as well. I don't know whether you've tried that, but it's something I've seen recommended, and I tried it myself.
Yes, and I've done similar in speeches. I received a letter in a speech and opened the envelope and read it, and I think that works really well. And I do believe that the wonderful Verity Price reads a letter as well. I think that works really well, personally. I would like to see your speech one day, David. And yeah, parchment paper, making paper look old is easy to do, and trying to make it as realistic as possible, which you did. Yeah, I like, and also just gives you a little break because you really can read the words, and that's what we do in life. We read things. So,
well,
yeah.
and we as Toastmasters, we tend to obsess over getting away from reading from notes, right? But if you can make it part of the presentation, that helps.
All right, thank you for that question. Does anybody else have a question that they would like to ask? Or do I now get to ask my question to Susie? Susie, don't feel left out. I have questions for you. I was giving Annie the time to get her questions out for the responsible adults. Now it's time for Susie. Susie, do you like being on stage and presenting?
Yeah, I really do, Janie. I love it. Yeah. Last night, I couldn't sleep. No, you kept me awake all night. You were so excited. Yeah, I was so excited. Yeah, I like it. Annie? Yes, Susie. I want to go to more Toastmasters meetings. Yes. Well, in a few weeks at one of my club, you're going to help me be the Toastmaster. Ah, yeah, you are. Oh, good. But I do try not to overexpose Susie. She'll be gone from Online Presenters for quite a while. I'm sorry, don't listen. What? Don't listen to this. Okay. So I don't want, yeah. So she comes to some clubs she's not even yet appeared in, and she may not. I won't.
Well, you can always cover her ears. But I do have another question for her. And my other question is, how do you find using props when dealing with younger persons and persons with disability? You touched on it, but you didn't go into details. But I don't want Annie's perspective. I want for Susie to answer what it's like when you're engaging with other kids your age, older kids, and people who have special needs. How do you find talking to them?
Well, I like it, Janie, because everybody is good. Yeah, I like everybody. And Annie, yes, Susie, I like William. Yes, William's the one I've been talking about. He's 23 and sometimes, well, every day he has to talk to you. Yeah, I like talking to him. I understand him because I sometimes think that sometimes I don't understand the world either. No, I don't understand if people are nasty. No, that's right. And William likes that. Yeah. Sometimes I feel lonely. And I understand if he feels lonely. Annie? Yes, Susie. Sometimes he needs to have a shower. Yes. Well, yeah, that's right. But sometimes, yeah, often, let's say every day. Yeah, every day. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Janie.
All right, so I have another question for Susie if nobody else does. So Susie's talked about the Brady Bunch and she has talked about Bluey. What other shows does Susie watch? Because there was a question about the accent, and does Susie practice any other accents like a lot of kids her age? Do you practice other accents? Do you try to speak in other ways, or do you just like sounding like your mom?
I talk like an Aussie. I was born in America. Yeah, there's a sad story. Yeah, I come from California. What? California? I wish they all could do California girls. Yeah, I came from the warehouse. Amazon warehouse in California. I was really sad there. That I came to Australia and Annie talks like an Aussie. Yes, I do. Yeah, I like to do it like that. I like listening to you from America and Jamaica and England and India and everywhere. I like it, that I like to talk like Annie. Yes, you do. There is someone else that sometimes you hang out with. Yeah, I hang out with Jerry. Tell them who Jerry is. Yeah, well, he's from Scotland. We weren't going to bring Jerry into this. Yeah, well, I like Jerry, and he's Scottish. He wears tartan. Yes, and he speaks in an accent. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's okay. I prefer. Yeah, I prefer William. Yeah, you prefer William. Anyway, that's enough. But yes, you accents. Actually, if you really want complexity, then yes, have a ventriloquist with an accent. When I have one, but he's called Jerry. Yeah, but I don't use him very often because that's hard. Thank you for the question. Yeah, thank you, Jamie.
All right, checking in if there are any more questions for Annie or Susie, or will we close with the last one of Annie, do you think puppets or ventriloquism could ever take off in Toastmasters? I know there are other Toastmasters who also use puppets. Hey, could be a Toastmasters club, who knows, specialty club for ventriloquists. What is your take on that?
Was the question, could it take off in a club? As a club, did you mean? Or do you mean as something that does well in contests or whatever?
Both.
It's a really interesting idea about a club. I'd never thought about that, but I really can't be in... Oh, have I frozen? No. Can you see me?
That's funny. No, that's
we can see you and hear you.
Yep.
Good, great. I've never thought about a club. Not another one. No, we can't have 6 clubs. No. So that, yeah, it's true, Nenny. So, yes, but I don't know about ventriloquism. I remain, as much as I love the art form and one day would like to push the envelope and see, I would not expect the judges to come along with my point of view. But hey, everything's not about winning, it's about giving it a go and making friends along the way. And you make friends. Yeah, I made lots of friends today with the Brady Bunch. They're not the Brady Bunch. No, but anyway, it's been good to be here. Yeah. Whew. Okay.
All right, thank you so much for that very animated presentation. And with that, I will be turning back over to our Toastmaster of the day.
Okay, well, thank you, Joni. I don't believe we have enough time for table topics, so I think I will ask Dr. Sunny if you have anything as the watcher.
Yes, I do. I have a little frozen problem, but I think I'll turn myself back on. Let's see if I can at least get something. Yeah, I do have something to show. We did a pretty good job. We used the background. That was good. And I also really enjoyed the 2-shot with Annie, and it looked so real. I forgot to even watch Annie, and I love just listening to Susie. Also, good use of background was Andre, because he had his props with the timer background, and that was great. There was a guest, Maureen. I'm not sure if we could actually see you or if you meant to be seen above your name. There seems to be some movement, but I wasn't sure. But you could always check yourself on the monitor when you are trying to make sure if you look good with your background. So overall, I had a few more slides to show, but I will just say that congrats to both Annie and Susie for making our day so special, talking about props that we all have. I enjoyed your body language as well, Annie and Susie. That's so good. You have a prop and then you make her move. Very nice online presentation skill. Back to you.
Thanks, Sunny. I want to thank Andre for being our timer this evening. Wonderful job. And I want to thank President Joni for handling the Q&A and the things that came up in the chat. And right now, I will say, as we wrap up tonight's meeting, remember this. A prop doesn't make a speech great. The speaker does. But the right prop used with purpose can turn a message into a moment your audience will never forget. So look around your home, your desk, your life. What object might help you tell your next story? Thank you all for showing up, speaking up, lifting each other up, and this concludes our meeting, and I now return control to our club president, Joni Relay Laidlaw.
Thank you, Marianne. And thank you, Annie and Susie, for such an informative, educational, and edutaining presentation on props. With that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting.